We can't love nobody else until we learn to love ourselves first. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. And as you have read by the title, today I will be giving you all 10 tips on how to strengthen your relationships. Just a small disclaimer, I am not a relationship guru. I'm not a relationship expert. All of the tips that I will be giving you all today will be tips that I will be using in my own personal life. I just want to throw that out there. For those who may be wondering, I got the inspiration from a devotional that I actually started like the day before. And it's a 5-day devotional plan titled Relationship Goals by Pastor Michael Todd. I'm pretty sure y'all have seen him all over social media. He do a lot of inspirational videos, and he talk about a lot of relationship advice from dating to marriage to sex, all of that good stuff. So that's where I got that inspiration from. If you're interested in knowing what these 10 tips are, make sure you stay tuned to watch this video. But before we do that, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, if you are interested in seeing more videos like this. So 10 tips to strengthen your relationships. Like I said, doesn't matter what type of relationship it is, but this will apply to any and all relationships you may have or want to have in the future. So my first tip is to build a relationship with God. And if you already have a relationship with God, you need to strengthen your relationship with God. Often we want to be so quick to build relationships with, man. And when I say man, I mean like mankind, like male or female. We want to strengthen or build relationships with humans, and we don't even find time to build a relationship with our spiritual father. Take the time to get to know him, allow for ourselves to be more open with him, talk to him, and just talk to get that guidance that we need from him so that we can build and maintain relationships here on earth. So that's my first tip. My first tip is to build a relationship with God first. And if you already have a relationship, just try to strengthen it, whether it's to pray daily, whether it's to journal daily, whether it's just talking out loud, because that's pretty much what prayer is just talking out loud to God. You don't always have to be on your knees, kneeling in prayer with your eyes closed. You can just actually talk out loud to God. Let him know what you need. The second tip that I have is to love God. I mean, that goes hand in hand. Once you build relationships with people, you begin to grow to have love for them or love them. That's the whole purpose of having relationships, is to love and care for a person. So my next tip is to love God. And then once you love God, you learn to love yourself, which brings me to my next tip, number 3, in strengthening your relationships with people, is to love yourself. Like, we can't love nobody else until we learn to love ourselves first. And this clicked with me personally because I feel like at times I can be hard to love, and I feel like I could be very guarded and don't want anybody to, come in or whatever, or be vulnerable to anybody. So I feel like I have to learn to love myself more so that I can learn how to love others, or learn how to accept when somebody is loving me. So that's tip number 3, is to love yourself. Tip number 4 is, once you learn to love yourself and love God, you're going to love the next person regardless. And the Bible, it says to love thy neighbor as thyself. The first and greatest commandment is to love God. And right after that commandment, he says for us to love thy neighbor as ourselves. So granted, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to treat your neighbor the way they should be treated or the way they ought to be treated. So you have to really make sure that you learn to love yourself first so that you can love other people the correct way. And once you love people the right way, you're going to definitely start building those relationships and being able to maintain those relationships in the way that they should go. Tip number 5 is a really important tip, and that is to remove any and all bad influences, influencers, or people that weigh you down. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes we can be those bad influences. Sometimes we can be the ones that are weighing other people down. We're human, we're imperfect. We have our days where we're going to be complaining and nagging and giving out negative energy. So we have to learn to understand to deal with that within ourselves and with God, so that we don't pose that on other people, because that really is detrimental to any type of relationship you have, is being weighed down or just being a bad influence to other people. I know in the past I have been a person to maybe weigh other people down, and vice versa. There have been people in my life that weighed me down, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever the case may be. But we have to learn to understand that bad influences, bad influencers, and people that weigh you down actually take a toll on building and maintaining relationships. So if you have anybody in your life that's weighing you down or isn't a good influence, you may want to take a step back and actually evaluate the situation and figure out what you want to do with that situation, whether you need to talk to that person, whether you need to pray about it, whether you just need to give you all some space between each other. You really need to evaluate that, because that could be playing a part on whether or not your relationship is flourishing or not. Tip number 6 is simply to pray for guidance. Pray that God help you seek relationships, and not just seek relationships just to say, hey, I got a girlfriend, hey, I got a boyfriend, or hey, I have a friend, but to seek relationships that are purposeful. People that want the best for you and you want the best for them. People that's going to put you in positions to be the best you can be, and vice versa. You don't want just any old relationship where it's like, where is this going? Where am I benefiting? Where are you benefiting? You want to have purposeful relationships, whether it's male or female, young or old, whatever the case may be. You want those relationships to be purposeful. So in order for them to be purposeful, you need to pray and be specific, which brings me to my next tip: being specific with your prayer of how to build and maintain purposeful relationships. So tip number 8 is to simply trust in God's process. Now, this may be a hard one at times for us to really trust, especially in a time where you may feel like you're lonely, but you have to learn how to be okay with being by yourself. And that's what I'm learning to do, because once you learn to be okay with being by yourself, you get to learn yourself more. You get to learn about what your likes are, what your dislikes are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you may be needing to improve on, so that once you do get into your next relationship, or once you do find somebody that you can call a friend, that you are actually being what you're supposed to be to that person. So I would say just trust God's process and know that He has those people out there for you that's going to mean well and going to want the best for you, just like you want for yourself. But you have to trust and believe, and that's all it takes, is a little bit of faith to trust in God's process, trust in His timing, and know that He will bring somebody or bring people in your life that want the best for you. Tip number 9 is to just simply be thankful for the people that are already in your life. They can be relatives or they can be non-related people. Often we kind of like don't realize who we already have in our life and who have already played a big part of our life or have influenced a certain area of our life, and we don't really realize it or take the time to thank them and just say, hey, I'm really glad that you're a part of my life. I know I've never done that. I can't even recall me ever saying, I'm so glad you're a part of my life. And that's the area that I want to work on, because words matter. Words are very strong. Words are very powerful. Just for a person to hear you say, I'm glad that you're in my life, you know, you have impacted me, you have influenced me in a way that I can't even explain, that would really do something to a person. And I mean, do something like in a positive way, for somebody to actually know that you care, that they are in your life, and that you want them in your life. So I say be thankful for the people that you already have in your life, and know and understand that they're there for a reason. And then my last and final tip, it seems simple, but in a way, sometimes it can be difficult because, again, we are human and we do get discouraged. But my last tip on building or strengthening relationships is to simply just wait. Just wait for them to come, especially romantic relationships. Often we want to find somebody that, you know, is going to keep us company, or just to say that we have somebody, instead of just waiting on somebody to come to us. I've never been one to go and find somebody to start talking to. I allow them to come to me, and from there I figure out whether or not I want to engage in that or not engage in it. But sometimes we just have to sit back. Now I know you can't sit back all the time, because you're not going to always have people come to you. Sometimes you have to, you know, take that leap of faith and say, hey, what's up, how you doing, whatever the case may be. But other times people just be so quick to just jump into something, and they just don't want to wait. So I feel like you should just wait until the time is right, whenever that time is. And, you know, in due time, it will reveal itself whether or not that relationship is something for you. And even if you go into something, a relationship, a friendship, a partnership, you know, whatever it is, and it starts off the right way, and then you slowly but surely start figuring out, like, I'm not sure if this is gonna work, it's okay. Like, we gonna have to go through relationships and go through friendships and go through all of these ships before we realize, you know, what's meant for us and what's not meant for us. And then, like I said, sometimes we are the bad apple of the bunch, and that's okay too, because we live and we learn, and we just have to pray that the next go around we get it right. So with that being said, those were my 10 tips on building and strengthening relationships with people. If you found them helpful, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any other tips on strengthening relationships or building friendships, because I would be interested in knowing myself, because like I said, I'm in the process of trying to continue to build and, you know, strengthen my relationship with God, so that I can start, you know, having other relationships that are purposeful in my life. Again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment if you want to see more videos like this, if it was helpful for you. And again, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Click the bell so that you can get notified every time I post a video. And I will see you all in my next video.